It is really, really, whoa.
Watch out now.
Yeah,
We got bills to pay. I need you to break your neck.
Welcome to Movie's Garage, the dumbest automotive channel in all of YouTube, and I'm Batman. Well, no, obviously I'm not Batman, but I feel like I am with this speck of 80s awesomeness 1989 Ferrari Testarossa that I have purchased, and I never thought I would own a cheap Testarossa ever again. I had my first chance at cheap Testarossa ownership 6 years ago after my Ferrari 355 burned to the ground, and I used that insurance check to roll it into the cheapest Testarossa in the USA the first time around. $82,000 bought me a Miami Vice spec with some issues, but it was in very, very nice condition, and I lived the Miami Vice life for about a month until, unfortunately, some title issues had the dealer buying the car back, and prices rapidly appreciated, and I felt like I had missed the boat.
Sold to you, Barney, for $410,000. Battle 7788.
I thought I would find a cheap project car like this, and it may look like a really nice car from the surface, but you'll see the big surprise. More on that in a little bit. The Ferrari Testarossa was unveiled in 1984, and it was a smash hit for Ferrari. They sold 10,000 of these, so a mass-produced car that was in production for a decade if you include the later 512 models and such, and it's easy to see why. The crazy 80s styling was so nuts that even Lamborghini decided to copy some of the side strakes in my 1989 25th Countach. Despite their similarities and the fact that they were going after the same buyers, the Testarossa and the Countach are very, very different vehicles, and we'll compare that in a little bit. But the Testarossa itself languished as a used car for many years. One reason being is because they made so many of them, 10,000 cars, but also the maintenance was huge on these. An engine-out service required every 5 or so years to change the belts. So for a long time, you could buy one of these for $40,000 or $50,000, but then every 5 years or so, you were spending $10,000 to $15,000 on the maintenance, which was crazy, but that is not the case anymore. These in recent years have appreciated rapidly, and very low mileage examples can bring, well, $250,000 and up, but this one isn't a low mileage super nice example. It was just driven as a used car back when they were cheap for a long time. It has all the battle scars to prove that it was just a daily driver for somebody, which I shall show you today in a tour, and we'll also take it up to the car wizards to show you, well, why this thing was such a bargain and a bit of a project. But before we get into things today, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring today's video. I was matched with a BetterHelp therapist a few years ago, and just having someone to talk to that had no connection to anyone in my life who could look at it all objectively and help me gain new insights was huge. I certainly have a lot to be happy about, but like everybody, there's things that have been pretty stressful for me in the past year and other personal problems I never really knew how to cope with well, and I think therapy has helped me a lot. So BetterHelp can help you like it helped me by connecting you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, you go to their website link below or type in betterhelp.com/moviesgarage, then answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started fast, all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/moviesgarage or choose Hoovie's Garage during sign-up and enjoy a special discount on your first month. Yes, from 15 or 20 feet back, it looks like a perfect car, and it hasn't been in a serious accident. It's not a salvage title. It's not like the Hellcat that's been in 4 accidents or whatever. It is a clean Carfax car that I don't think has ever been painted on before, but when you get closer, you start to see all of the wear and tear. The nose is all chipped up from normal use. The lower part, the valance there, all scraped up, so that needs to be repaired. No big deal. Being black, it's very easy to match. Just a nose job on that. But then you can see another common Ferrari problem is the leather dashboards, and they shrink. And this one, well, it is shrinking away, and to stop the instrument binnacle one from falling apart, they have stapled it to sort of stabilize it. So the dash needs to be entirely redone. This being a 1989, thankfully it doesn't have the metric wheels with tires that are impossible to get, but it had some bad aftermarkets on for a very long time, and these tires are are very old, 20 or 30 years old, so that needs to be replaced. But you can see more chips here, part of the nose job. The side strakes, that ridiculous Pininfarina design that was unveiled with the Testarossa, are crazy here. The door handle hides underneath, and you can see deep inside that is just sucking air, those holes, into the engine, which is in the back. There's that Pininfarina badge. And these Testarossas just have such a cool shape because it is so much wider in the back than the front. And that is so they could house this massive flat 12-cylinder here in the back. You can see there's some weird fading here on the bonnet as well. But you pop it, there is the flat 12-cylinder, and this one actually has just had an engine out. It was sitting for many years, actually had an engine out 10 years ago where they replaced the clutch, but then it sat and it hadn't been ran in years, but the prior owner did go through and service it, get it running. $18,000 later, I do have fresh belts, and the engine hopefully doesn't have to come out again for a very long time, so it does look pretty tidy back here. Just a quick detail on this thing will look pretty Concours. It does have, I believe, the stock exhaust there, and that could definitely use some improvement. These sound so much better with a Capristo or something like that on it. Very muffled stock. But one thing that is understandable back when this was a cheap used car, but now kind of a crime against humanity, you can see somebody put in a backup camera right there. They drilled a hole into the rear bonnet of this Ferrari and put in a backup camera that is no longer wired up or functioning. So yeah, certainly added for practicality because that rear window is pretty small, hard to see out the back, big blind spots, but on a car now that is worth some money, that's a big no-no. But personally, I love it because I love a car that I can drive, use, and enjoy without the worry of messing it up and making it worse, put miles on it. And that's where the Countach has gotten sort of hard to drive because it is original paint. It is a showroom example, so no matter what I do, I'm just going to make it worse and less valuable. And it's a much sportier, uncomfortable, really tight driving experience. Very fun, but not something I would want to drive cross country. Meanwhile, the Testarossa has all the look of the Countach, especially since they added the side strakes. In 1989, for the 25th anniversary, they added similar styling cues you can see here, 1 year only with the Countach to sort of match the craziness of the Testarossa. But the Testarossa, you go inside and there is so much more room. It is so much more comfortable and easy to drive cross country, and that's probably why this Testarossa has 42,000 miles on the odometer, which in the Ferrari world, that's like 150,000 miles. Ferrari collectors hate high mileage cars and it dramatically affects the value, but once again, makes me so happy because I can drive this thing to 50,000 miles, 60,000 miles, and it's not a big penalty. I can just drive it and enjoy it, and it'll always be worth what I paid for it versus buying a 1,000-mile example and driving it to 10 or 20,000 miles. You'll ruin the collectability of it, which I don't care about. You can see the vinyl is sort of falling off the top here, and it is a bit of a mess and needs some cleanup, but overall, it is in pretty solid shape. It could clean up to be a very nice example with a new dash and sort of a nose job, repaint the rear hatch, maybe fix that hole with the camera. Then I have a really cool Batman spec of a Ferrari Testarossa that I can use and enjoy as much as I want. But there are still some issues. Even though it's had that $18,000 engine out, there are some things that need to be sorted out. And yeah, there is the big gotcha, the big but with this car and why it was so cheap. I paid $70,000 for it, which seems like a bargain compared to Concours examples, but this will never be a Concours car ever again. And I'll show you after we drive up to the Car Wizards. There's a lot of ergonomic and drivability quirks with the Testarossa, starting with this unbelievably heavy steering when you're not moving because it has no power steering, not the end of the world. But then there's this crazy seatbelt system, very 80s here, that locks you in, much like it is a futuristic Batmobile or something. But also you have to pull this, which, come on. Oh, I had it. There we go. And buckle yourself anyway. So you do have the full harness. The radio hides underneath here, and it's this crazy old Panasonic unit. You can hear that beeping. That is the vintage radar detector that beeps like crazy because everybody has sonar and all that stuff in their cars, so it's not working. It needs to be disabled. And then all the buttons down here, just ridiculous looking. You hit this to turn on the blower. This is the fan speed, the temperature, and then park lights, but then the headlights are up here to do the pop-up headlights. But then the fog light button is up here, so the lights are controlled in 3 different spaces. The windows are stacked and you don't know which switch is which. This one launches the glove box door, which opens once again like the Batmobile with a giant mirror. And then this is to control the vents and which way they blow, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. But one big issue is the air conditioning doesn't work in this car. And in a black on black car with no UV glass because it's old, it gets really, really hot in here. Oh. And that is pretty much impossible to drive one-handed slow. And then there's the gear shifts, which are pretty famous on the Testarossa for being stiff when they're cold. I don't know if it's because it's summertime. This one seems like the smoothest and easiest to operate that I have ever experienced. But still, you do have to be very deliberate with the shifts. It is not like butter smooth, but still a very satisfying gated analog experience, which I love. I'm gonna let it warm up a little bit more before I drive it too hard, but 400 horsepower, 5 seconds or so, 0 to 60. It pulls hard and runs fantastically, the 42,000 miles. It's fine, it doesn't matter. I had the Ferrari 348 with 100,000 miles, still ran fine, engine had never been rebuilt. Then there was my Ferrari 456 that sat for way too long, had less than 10,000 miles, and that engine needed to be rebuilt and torn down multiple times. So I feel like you use these, you enjoy these, you have a more rewarding ownership experience, in my opinion. Now, one thing you can't do in these things is clutch dump them. Just do a huge launch because the differentials are very fragile, made of glass. Oh, that is so good. But once you're rolling, the lay into that 12-cylinder and the noise, even with the factory exhaust that's very muffled, it just sounds so good. Oh. I think I'm gonna have to take off my shoe though. I chose the wrong shoe. It's a little bit too wide, and these pedals are tight, really tight. So you have this engine that feels like a race car along with the transmission and the pedal box, but the car itself feels sort of like a lazy sort of boat grand touring car. It is very gentle and comfortable and reasonable to drive. And that's why I feel like 42,000 miles is very easy to put on a Testarossa, or a lot more, because unlike most old Ferraris where after an hour you want to get out and fix your neck or pop your back, this one you can just keep going. It's a nice place to be. But then when you want to have fun, you just drop a gear, listen to that V12. It's awesome. And this one, it's very, very healthy. I don't think the car wizard will find much wrong with it because it was done up at a reputable shop, but they did charge the air conditioning and it leaked right out. So AC would be nice, and there are some other things that I want him to do, and I need to show you the really, really bad thing with this car. Wizard!
Wow.
I'm melting.
This isn't one of Video Bob's kit cars.
No, this is the real deal, but it is,
Real deal.
it is really, really, oh.
Watch out now.
Yeah,
We got bills to pay. I need you to break your neck.
there's no air conditioning, so it's really, really hot on this thing. But yeah, so it's the real deal. 1989 Testarossa.
Actually, Danielson just finished up a red one. It was in here.
Well, sorry to tell you, it's just had the engine out. It's all been done. Somebody else paid the $18,000, and yeah, hopefully you don't have to do it again. That all seems fine. So. But there's no air conditioning, and the dash is, well, it's melting just like me, so I'd love to get that dash out and redone.
You're going to have fun with that one, huh?
Yep. Yeah, it's mostly cosmetics, but yeah, the air conditioning, a few other little things. But one thing I really want to show people is why this Testarossa was so cheap, and you'll see for yourself when you get it up on the lift. Not something I don't think you would want to tackle.
Okay, well, let's definitely take a look. I'm interested to see that.
The thing about this Wizard is these were once really cheap cars that people just used and abused. They were worth 40 or 50 grand, so they just drove them into the ground. And I don't think this one was abused, but it was just used and enjoyed, you know, 42,000 miles worth of use. So
There's some
Yeah.
little bit of scrapes here, nothing too serious.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they put new brake hoses and things on it.
Yeah, they redid the front brakes. That was part of the service. Suspension look all right?
The shock's not blown. I don't see any torn boots over there. Actually looks pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, it handles really well. It feels nice. So all that's good. But the bad part you can see is...
Oh.
Yeah, so there's the frame here, and this is the floor, and then there's some sort of seam sealer in between, and it has sort of a rubberized undercoating. This is all from the factory, and I think because this was a northeastern car, you know, water, salt, whatever, got up in there, and it's just started to corrode the frame and the floor a little bit, and then that's just sort of like weeping through. I guess the previous owner, when they had it up in the air, they sort of did a little exploration. That's why this side looks a lot worse than the other side. But they just started poking and peeling away just to see what was going on. And
so that's like just a cover that was there to cover the actual framework.
right.
The framework seems solid up in there.
Yeah, everything I poked around in there, it felt like nothing was going to go through. So it's something that you can do, right?
No.
No, it's something that a shop, you know, like a restoration shop or a body shop can go through, take out all of this sort of rubberized seam sealer thing, clean it all up if it's all solid, and I hope so, and then put in new sealer and do the new rubberized undercoating, because it's not like Ferrari made any effort to make these things look pretty underneath, so it won't look very different.
No,
but
it really won't.
that will forever be something with the car, even though I don't think it's going to split in half like Herbie or something like that. It's just, it'll always be a driver because of that.
Yeah.
And I don't care, because I love to just drive and enjoy the cars, and if I fix the nose and it gets chipped up again, I can paint it over and over again. The car's already had paint work, so...
Wasn't this engine just out, you said?
Yeah.
There's an oil leak right there on that hose. That
Yeah.
clamp might be loose, and there's a lot of oil leaks going on. Several there, 3 or 4.
Yeah, just had an $18,000 engine out.
I don't know why on the valve covers they use that RTV. They just have green gaskets that should go there. And over here, there's a little bit of a leakage going on there as well.
Yeah, because you just did a Testarossa engine out.
Yeah, Danielson had it out and he went through it, and it was very successful. It had been sitting for many years.
Yeah, same with this one. It did have an engine out before, though, in 2013, like 2,000 or 3,000 miles ago, and it got a new clutch with that one.
Looks like something green right there.
Oh, the coolant. So that's my fault. That's another thing that's sort of weird about this one. I was doing driving shots with Jake. I forgot to flip on the cooling fan, so it got up to about 2/3, 3/4, and I realized it because I smelled coolant. When oh crap, because it's not on a thermostat. The fan, you have to manually switch it on, and I forgot to do that. I didn't cook the engine, obviously, but got it hot enough to where it started to burble out some coolant, which is right there, the reservoir and the little hose for the overflow on the cap.
I'm sure Danielson could actually get that working properly again if you want.
That would be good. That would have been something that somebody did in the 90s or early 2000s when they're like, yeah, we don't want to figure it out. Let's just make it work when this car wasn't worth anything. So a cooling fan kicking on at the correct time would be nice. Cleaning up the dashboard, I guess. Yeah, look into those oil leaks a little bit more closely, and
is there something we can remedy without a major tear apart?
I'd rather it not come out again.
Yeah,
I can
understand that.
It can drip a little bit, or I could, I guess, take it back to the shop that did the engine out and see what they can do. But this is going to be a driver and something that I'm not going to just obsess over, because the Countach, it's way too nice and it's way too expensive to where I can't enjoy the car.
I would actually be afraid to drive your Countach for a pleasure car, to go enjoy a drive. I would be so afraid every moment I was on it.
Yep. So this, I get all that 80s goodness. It's a lot more usable, practical, and yeah, it'll always be a driver. So I am thrilled that this popped up locally, just like the Countach popped up locally. You were there that day.
Yep.
I can't believe cars like this exist in Kansas sometimes, and I luck into them. Thank you so much for watching. So apparently driving an air-conditioned car in triple-digit temperatures and not drinking water can cause a kidney stone. And it's the worst pain I've ever had in my entire life. I hear, though, that to help pass a kidney stone, one thing you can do is have your subscribers really like the video, or if they haven't subscribed yet, to hit that subscribe button. And the stone, it helps it pass, so yeah, I guess, thank you so much for watching.